25 verse 2. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. So where are these mountains? Surrounding Jerusalem, where are they?
Right around us.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
You see, Jerusalem is not on top of a big hill or on top of a mountain, really. We have the mountains around us. And we are living at the mountain, you know, down the hotel. It's on the slopes up on the Mount Scopus. And what's this mountain up here? Mount of Olives. And we'll be going through all of this. But we need to look at the Bible. Where in the Bible, when in the Bible do we meet Jerusalem for the first time?
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Okay, so we have Abraham.
Yes.
Well, did they meet in Jerusalem?
No,
Not really. But Melchizedek was the king here.
of Salem, yes.
King and priest. And where did they meet? You remember the story. Abraham has been pursuing the enemies who had defeated the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the other cities there. And he went after them. Where did he catch up with them? We've been there already.
Oh.
Beautiful place with a lot of water gushing forth.
Tell Dad.
Tell Dan, right. That's where he caught up with them. And how, you know, most people, when I grew up, I attended Sunday school. And most of you have been attending Sabbath school when you were children. So what I remember from Sunday school is this picture of the tent of Abraham and Sarah and the servant. So there were 3 or 4 tents. But the truth is, it was very different. How many men did Abraham have who grew up in his house and who were able to fight? That's between, say, 20 and 45 years. He had 318 men. So how many people would be living around his tent?
1,500.
You know, he was a big sheikh. He was a leader of this big group. Anyway, that's the first time we hear about Jerusalem. It's Salem, Shalim, several different names. And they met in the Shave Valley. That is the Kidron Valley, which goes down here and runs all the way down to the Dead Sea. And they must have met somewhere further down, because Abraham obviously would not be going to Jerusalem. Sodom and Gomorrah are down by the Dead Sea, so they were walking in that direction, and then he would go back home to Hebron, wherever in that direction. So anyway, this is Melchizedek. It's the first time we hear about Jerusalem. But then, a short while afterwards, he's now had the son of promise, and here comes God. And can you imagine if I have to tell Abraham, now, you know, we're using Nathan as everything, aren't we?
Wearing lots of hats.
So,
Excuse me. Channel 3.
Put both microphones on you.
okay, is this better? Can you all hear me now?
Just a second, just a second.
Everybody
No.
needs
Abraham has had this son of promise, and if this is Abraham and I'm God, you know, this is the thing, and I'm to tell him that he has to go and sacrifice his own son, how would I begin? Gently, carefully, but that's not how God did it. He says, Abraham, you go and sacrifice your son, your only son, the one you hold so dear, the one you love so much, you go and sacrifice him. You know, he's sort of squeezing it into the heart of Abraham. It's the only son, it's the one you love so much, go and sacrifice him. He's making it as difficult as possible. And what does Abraham do? He gets up early in the morning. Why?
Not
Maybe
telling
it's-
Sarah.
Maybe.
He wants to
Don't
talk
tell
Jesus
Sarah.
and please don't.
Yes, Sarah, would she be with him or not?
Nope.
No way. Maybe he had a creeping suspicion that it would make it harder. So Sarah, you know.
Missy
But
says no
She doesn't
way.
agree.
they walk for quite a while because they're coming from the southwest, Beersheba, in that direction. And finally, they come over the hills here. And then God shows him, that is the mountain. Right behind us, where the dome of the rock is now located. That's the top of Mount Moriah. And then we see the faith of Abraham in action. Because now he says something I didn't think of before I really started looking at the text. He tells the two servants, you remain here while my son and I will go and offer sacrifices, and then we will come back. Then we will come back.
He had faith God was going to raise him.
He believed that they, the two of them, would come back. Otherwise, he would never have sacrificed his son.
Exactly.
But he knew his Lord, and he knew that this is a miraculous son. I received him by a miracle, I'll receive him back again in a miracle.
All right.
Amen.
He trusted the Lord, and he says, we will come back. When Isaac started asking, so Father, here's the wood and here's everything, but where is the animal?
The Lord will provide.
The Lord will provide.
Yes.
And this is the mountain where the Lord will provide.
Amen.
Okay? So that's the second time we meet. Then again, we have the story of Joshua. He defeated several kings, among them the king here in Jerusalem. And that battle started, where will it be in that direction? North of Jerusalem. And the battle raged the whole day. They followed on, and on Sabbath afternoon we'll go in their, or drive in their footsteps down to Azekah. And that's where they prayed, you know, because they needed more time in order to win a final victory. So the sun stood still, the moon and all of that, and great hailstones fell down, and we'll go to Azekah on Sabbath afternoon. So that's another story. Pardon?
Will we stop there at that place?
Yeah, well, at that place,
Or is it a drive
we will
by?
go up, we'll be at that very spot. We'll sit there, so it's okay. We'll have plenty of time for your recording system. Okay.
That's what somebody's asking.
How much does this cost?
He's extra.
That's a
He has to pay
that's a
extra.
price tag. Okay. Anyway, that's that story down to Azekah. Then we turn the wheels of history. And even though Joshua defeated the king, they never captured the city. This was a Canaanite city. It was the Jebusites, and it was called Jebus. Jebus in English. Jebus, the Jebusites. They were the ones living here. And it remained like an enclave? Enclave in the middle of all the Israelites. But then came King Saul, unable to take the city. It remained a Jebusite city. Then David is anointed king. He's anointed king of his own tribe down in Hebron, in that direction. It's, I guess, about half an hour's drive down to Hebron. He's anointed, and he's now trying to gather all of Israel in his arms. And how can he do it? 12 unruly tribes. Would they be willing to join him? So he's a really good administrator and what you say, strategist, and in his own mind he says, I need to find a capital which is neutral to all the tribes. Where is that capital going to be? One that's not been taken by any of the tribes. It's Jebus, Jerusalem. So here he comes, marching out of Hebron with his people, his soldiers, and they come from that direction, so we don't of course know exactly how he did it, but he came to Jerusalem. And inside of the